All right. Just quickly, like we do ahead of every Tuesday meeting, is give everybody a quick update as what the hell's going on week to week. Last week, inflation became kind of resurfaced as a concern. The 10-year breached 3%. Stocks got hit. And then early this week, late last, they had a nice bounce up until the last session and a half. Late yesterday, they closed on the lows. Today, they made really a terrible attempt to go back to unchanged in the S&P. And where do we go? Down to the lows that they made and so on. But the FOMC meets today and tomorrow with their statement tomorrow at 1. So if you guys aren't around every day in the trading room, that you get reminded in there, make sure you know what the hell's going on for that. I don't really prepare that much for a statement until about a half hour before the event. That's when the source that I use, Trade the News, one of them, comes out with their briefing. And to me, all the last minute, anything that could be last minute that'll influence the statement has been collected at that point. You don't want to preview 3 days before and there's something that changed that you didn't read up about. So that's usually the way I kind of review or prepare for that. And then Friday's unemployment. For trading room guys, we open up early, 7:15 on that day. But let me roll right into Merritt because he just said he's fired up and a little pissed off. So I think that's good for a presentation. We've got the bulk of everybody here. If you guys don't know who Merritt is, obviously he's been in here once or twice. He made the top 5 most popular videos, which is impressive, Merritt, because there's a lot of videos over the last 2 years, and yours came up. So you're in the top 5 category in track 4. And that
yes.
Yeah, I knew you were excited about that. So he's from SMB. He has a lot of different education. They just opened up a futures arm because they just generally were a stock firm. Now they've opened up a futures arm, and Merritt runs it for them. They've been around for a long time, maybe 20 years.
We've got 6 guys we've hired now for futures.
Nice. Like traders?
Traders, yeah.
Good for that. Passed the whole
tryout.
Yep. Trial stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Good for you. What was the other thing I wanted to ask? That guy Robert, did he start anything yet? He's the guy that I had you reach out to.
Yeah, absolutely. Seems like a great guy. We had a phone call, and I believe he's trying out for the desk now. I believe.
Good for him. Yeah, he's a sharp guy. I think he'll work out for you. But that's about it, man. I'll let you take over. Let me change presenters to Merritt and hit yes. If you can't see the questions when it comes time to that, I'll put them as an organizer. But you want me to leave the questions to the end, Merritt, or interrupt you? What do you want to do?
Doesn't matter to me. Let's do. I'm going to be running through 3 sections. Let's do questions at the end of each section.
Perfect. Right? Just remind me when the section's over.
All right.
All right, partner.
You'll know it when a tirade is finished. Okay. So, guys, today is going to be boring. This is going to be stuff you don't want to hear. This is going to be stuff you don't want to do, maybe. But I'm going to ask you to look in the mirror and really answer to yourself how good of a job you're doing these things. If you want to do any elite performance activity, you want to be a scratch golfer, you want to be a professional pianist, it does not matter. Trader, consistently profitable trader, let's say. The work that is required to make this happen is done outside of clicking the stupid buy and sell buttons. That's not what it's about. Obviously, that's important, but the work that goes into the culmination of you knowing when or where or how to click the button is 100% done outside of trading hours, outside of that moment where you actually are simply performing in the zone. Okay? So, we're gonna walk through a day in the life of someone, at least in our culture here at SMB, of the work that goes into being a professional trader, developing into a professional trader, developing into the trader that each and every one of you wants to be, which is the reason why you're on this call with us right here, right now, today. All right, so you can see this monitor, correct, with the market profile?
Yes, we see it.
All right, cool.
Looks good.
The first thing that we want to get into is preparation before the bell rings. Okay, if you're rolling out of bed in your tidy-whities and sitting down in the chair all groggy-eyed and firing up a cup of coffee and trying to just trade, good luck with that, okay? Thank you for donating your money to my trading firm. We love you. All right, but all jokes aside, that's not going to cut it. Just again, I want, as we continue through this, you to continue to relate to things outside of trading. There are no Tom Brady's, whether you love him or hate him. There are no Usain Bolts or any of these people. You think he's just, yeah, sure, he's a freak of nature. Sure, he's got ridiculous natural skill. And even Dr. Steenbarger talks about in trading, there's some natural skill components. He believes that. You're either quality on the really analytical side, or you have a skill set, natural skill set, as it relates to pattern recognition. But beyond those kind of things, it's all about the work, and there really is no limitations on natural abilities. I always tell people I was the worst, and this is not just some hokey thing that I like to say to sound humble or any of that garbage. I was probably the worst person that I know, I'm not kidding, cut out to be a consistently profitable trader. The worst. I had huge ego issues, need to be right, need to get the what's it called? Affirmation from other people, all kinds of things. Very naturally bad trader. So anyways, the work that goes into, improving, becoming your best trader and trading as a professional, let's start to dive in. Before the opening bell, most people, they fire up the charts, and that's how it begins. Some people certainly check the econ calendar and see, is today a non-farm payrolls or what's going on? Sure, a lot of you do that, I'm sure. But before you ever get into that part of it, you need to prep yourself. You're the one that's got to pull the trigger when it's time to pull the trigger. You're the one that's got to have yourself in the right frame of mind to do what you need to do and do it well. Stay objective, make the proper decisions despite being human, which means there will be emotion involved. So let's get into it. One of the things that I've found helpful for myself and others through the years is starting with gratitude. Attitude is massively important in trading and in life. Attitude really does drive everything. If you just think of people with bad attitudes and good attitudes, it's unbelievable difference. So one of the things I like to do is it doesn't have to take too long, and this could actually drift into religious or spiritual or meditation and prayer and all kinds of things if you want, but just on a basic level, what are you thankful for? Really get yourself in a positive frame of mind and almost put trading in perspective as well, almost, right? I know that I've certainly been in places where I've put too much importance on the day-to-day P&L even of trading and derive my self-worth from that. And that leads into the second point here about taking a look at your longer-term goals. What are the things that you are working towards, that the reason you're now sitting down in the chair today and going to trade? What are those things? I am a firm believer that just about any mistake you might make in life or trading has to do with a temporary lapse in, or misalignment even, of who it is that you want to be, or what it is that you're working towards on a longer term basis. You know, you get into a tiff with your wife or significant other, whatever. You know, the next day you realize, wow, how stupid was that? Do I really care whether what happened with the first round draft pick, or, you know, like, it doesn't, there's like, you'd be surprised that, in fact, you probably all are not surprised. You understand that we get into issues with other people over the most trivial things sometimes. Ego gets in the way, all kinds of stuff. And you realize, wow, that's not who I want to be. It's not even important to me now that I think about it. That was stupid. Traders do the same thing. You make a bunch of crappy, impulsive decisions because emotions run in the show, and you are now out of sync with the goals you're working towards and who you want to be as a trader. So just going through and aligning yourself with this before you begin getting into the heat of the battle, if you will, puts you in a better position to be successful. Now we want to check in with ourselves. Let's see, some guys in my room have started an acronym, PECS, I believe. Physical, emotional, cognitive. Is it spiritual? I'm not sure. Anyways, check in with yourself. Are you too sick? Do you need to not trade today? Or do you need, there can be a not trade level, so to speak. If you're really, really sick, you don't trade. Or it's, you know what, I'm still getting over this cold. I'm just no energy, tired. I'm going to really hold back today. I may not put on a trade unless I see something absolutely fantastic that I just can't pass on. You know, there's varying levels of how you might remove yourself from a normal day. So sick, too tired, hungover, emotionally upset. Your grandfather just died. You know, I don't know. Things like that. You need to check in. You need to understand what state you're in before you get into it. Another thing that's very common, second point here, where are you currently on the spectrum of overconfidence to underconfidence to overconfidence? Have you just can't hit the broadside of a barn, trading poorly, blah, blah, blah? You're going to have trouble pulling the trigger. We know that underconfidence leads to trading errors. Okay. We also know that overconfidence can lead to some egregious errors in trading. So simply acknowledging and understanding where you're at, just that, bringing that to your conscious awareness, instead of, feel free to take the other path and continue donating money to S&P futures, not being aware of it consciously until the damage is done. And then you say, man, you know what? I'm going to do a good review here. I was overconfident coming into the session today, and I started trading twice my normal size and over trading. And there you go. I gave back the past 2 weeks of profits. Don't be that guy. Check in with yourself, understand, bring it to your conscious awareness. It's going to put you in the best position to be successful. Every single day, your goal should not be to make money. Your goal should not be based on outcome. Your goal should not be to just trade better. Your goal should be something specific. That's something you can control. We call that a process goal. Write it down at the top of the journal. It should be based on your prior trading, things that you've identified that need improvement. This is your new definition of winning or losing each and every day is based on this. When you lay your head down to go to sleep at night, whether you feel like a rock star or a loser should be based on how you performed that day according to this process goal that you laid out was the thing that you wanted to accomplish that day. Everything else is going to take care of itself if you can focus on specific skill development in areas that you identify need improvement. What are you going to be putting your effort towards, executing, focusing on, and improving today? And then visualizations. Dr. Steenbarger talks a lot about this. There's plenty of fantastic material about that if you're unfamiliar with this practice. It has been scientifically proven, statistically significant over studies. One that I'm familiar with was a group of people trying to get better at shooting free throws. Okay, this is not trading, which is not very physical. It's just clicking a button, so it really is all about our mind. So how much more would this apply to the example that I studied, which was a group looking to get better at shooting free throws in basketball? Very physical, right? Muscle memory. The groups that were taught how to do it, they all were taught. Some didn't do any practice. Some went and practiced physically, and some only went and did visualizations of shooting proper free throws and making the free throws. Guess what group at the end of the study performed best? The ones that did the visualization exercises. Fascinating stuff, guys. It works. So I'm not going to teach you how to do that. There's plenty of material how to do that. Now we can get to the point of analysis that most of you begin with, which is what's on the econ calendar today and what are the markets doing and what's my plan to attack them. We have now reached the end of section 1. Are there any questions?
Sorry, I had you on mute. I don't see any. Yeah, anybody got any questions? Let's give it a couple seconds and see if any pop through.
Okay.
Good stuff, and stuff that's forgotten all the time because of complacency. That's why teams are teams, man. They don't let the other slip, right?
That's right.
That's a workout buddy, too. If you work out by yourself all the time, yeah, you might be disciplined. Do it every day. Sometimes you don't feel like doing it, and you talk yourself out of it, but someone's there to do it. Yeah, trainer, all that stuff. I don't think we got any questions on this first section, Merritt, so I'll hand it back to you, man.
Second section, after the prep is done, that kind of leads into journaling, okay? A lot of people use journaling to mean different things as a trader. I consider journaling in terms of during the session, that type of thing, taking notes, jotting things down. That is different than our third section, which will be on end of day review, which some people refer to as a journal. So we want to jot down that process goal for the day. That's important to do. Again, this is leading from that pre-market prep. Now let's put in big block letters at the top of the journal, and this can be done digitally on Evernote, OneNote, Google Docs, whatever, doesn't matter. I think a lot of those cloud-based storage things are better because you can access those docs easy. Stop storing your files on your computer in Microsoft Word. That's archaic. Be able to pull them up on a flight, on your phone. This is how to be more connected with your work and what you're doing. Start with there, though. Big block letters, because that's the most important thing you're looking to go and be in control of today is that goal. Now we have those econ events. You can jot them down at the top of the journal. And then those hypos or whatnot, at least for my guys, or some form of key distilled down analysis for the day of how you're going to plan on attacking the markets and what are the key levels and what you're looking at, that can go at the top of the journal. Now it's the trading session begins. The opening bell, ding, ding, ding. Here we go. Things that you can journal throughout the session. This is critical. They need a timestamp. It's not just the words you jot down that you don't know exactly what they're attached to or when you were jotting them down. Timestamp every single one. I'm stalking this potential trade. Timestamp. This is important because the moment the idea of the trade comes into your mind, if you put that down, that's going to be very, very telling. The purpose of all of this is so that when we go to the next section of the review, we're going to be able to refer back to this to help us do a much better job of understanding and improving and developing. Okay, so stalking a potential trade. If you aren't jotting that down, your review process can fall into the trap of, oh, I could have done this here. I would have done this here. I should have done this here. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. You idiot. You didn't do this here. I knew this was going to happen. Well, guys, if you didn't list it out here as a main hypo and you didn't have it here as a trade that you were stalking, you didn't know jack. You didn't know. You're a liar. You're lying to yourself. Stop it. Get better. Face the truth. This is a way to do that. Timestamp. I'm feeling this emotion. It may not necessarily be significant in the moment, but consciously admitting it, working on your self-awareness. And then these little emotions that are there, fear, greed, FOMO, whatever it is, that's going to be something that's powerful to refer back to and start to understand yourself. Power of habit, picking up on your cues, Charles Duhigg, that type of stuff. Timestamp it. Timestamp. I just got long or short. This is the name of the setup. This is the trade. You do have a playbook with trades that you understand what they are. You have names, right? This is the market. This is rationale. Here's my stop. Here's my plan for managing a profitable trade. Great. When you work with me at the end of the day as a mentor, I'm going to say, what about this one here? And you're going to, I think we were holding above VWAP. No, forget it. No. Well, let me check my journal, Merritt. That's the right answer. Okay, 857. I got long this setup based on this confluence here. My stop was below this, blah, 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 blah. Awesome. Now we have something to go by. Now we have something to refer to that was a truth for you in the moment. And we have a gauge. We can say, here's what you were thinking. Here was the rationale at the time. You missed this. Or that was a great trade. Fantastic observation, blah, blah, blah. Timestamp. I just made an adjustment to my plan. Whether that's something that you allow yourself to do or something you're not supposed to do. If you do it, timestamp it and write the rationale. Why? You just scratch the trade. Almost the same thing. Timestamp. Just scratch the trade. Why did you scratch the trade? Is that something that's part of your process? Is it something that's an error for you, but still jot down the rationale why? Timestamp. I just noticed blah, blah, blah. Something interesting about the market. Something you're not necessarily going to harp on and focus on. You're going to get back to your process-driven decision-making, your playbook, your style of trading. But you know what? I thought that was interesting in order flow. I thought that was interesting in price action. Jot down the timestamp. I'll refer back to this later because it's something I want to study. It could be something that's worked into future playbooks, that type of thing. But right now, it's just an observation. Timestamp. Note something significant. I just made an error. I just realized I missed this trade. Try to discover why. Try to understand if there's emotion involved. Try to understand that significant event with your trading right then and there, and then move on. You can review it next. And then you do that until the trading session is done. This is the end of section 2.
That's awesome. And I mentioned a little bit about this to you and a little bit to others in here, but what I created that's ready to roll out in a week on a couple platforms is the best way to revolutionize journaling. And timestamp. I mean, everything you said there is so important. What are you thinking? And everything you have in parentheses, time, 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 because it matters when you thought that
That's
and
right.
what the
It's a
market
big
was
deal.
doing and what it was going to do. That's good stuff, man. All right, section 3. Is this section 3, I assume?
Yes.
One
Review.
question by Barbara. Is this all done by hand? Seems like a very time-consuming process when you're journaling.
I already addressed that. It can be done on Evernote. That means you can type it out in any format digitally on the computer. I know some people who record audio clips. I myself am old-fashioned. For the journaling aspect, I write it down with pen and pad. I don't want to disrupt my screen real estate and things like that. Getting away from my order execution, my hotkeys, things like that. So I just have a journal in front of me that I use. So,
Now and you get short. You learn how to write, you know, um, in half sentences. You don't have to be good.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Names of setups, acronyms, you name it. You figure out how to make it pretty dang efficient. Um,
That's cool.
but
All right, I think that's it. She said thank you for the answer.
you're welcome. All right, so now we've prepped. We've gone through the session. We've got a written, documented account of the truth of our thoughts and feelings and ideas and analysis and everything. Now, let's review the day. Okay? What was that? You're tired? You just want to go home? Oh, well, please continue donating money to S&B Futures. We are very, very grateful for you. Thank you. All right, so if you want to make the money, it's time to review. It's time to put in the work. Make sure your order execution, make sure your platform, make sure all that's good. No outstanding orders. Make sure you're all flat, no positions, accidental mistakes, blah, blah, blah. We export our trades. We use a service called TraderView. We apply tags to each trade, the name of the trade, if there was an error, the type of context, whatever's appropriate for you and your trading. Come up with tags to label, this was my ABC trade, this was my 456 trade, this was my FLB trade, and then monitor performance of the specific types of trades and setups you're taking over time. Don't just look at your overall P&L. There's gonna be things that are working best, that are working poorly. Dive in beyond the P&L. We're not going to talk about stats today, but that could be a whole nother webinar. All right. Scan through your journal that we talked about for significant events or notes. Continue to reference your journal as you proceed throughout the rest of this review. Review. First and foremost, how did you perform today solely as it relates to my process goal? I've had a mistake of moving my stop to break even just because I'm afraid to let a winner turn her into a loser. And it's not my process for trade management, but I've been doing that and it's been costing me. I get stopped and then my idea plays out, blah, blah, blah. Just an example here. So I took 10 trades today, and you know what? 6 out of the 10, I did not move my stop to break even. And so therefore I have a 60% success rate. We're taking something that's emotional, that's impulsive, that's typically thought of as qualitative, and we are going to move that into the quantitative, quantifiable world to where you can monitor your progress and success. That's important. Have you now been crushing this 100% for 2 weeks now to where you could say this is a new good habit? If not, prepare to work on this more. If so, what's my process goal for tomorrow? Maybe you don't know yet. Maybe we wait till the end to figure that out. Review each of the trades that you did make. Was the entry valid according to my process? Was the trade sized properly? Was the stop properly placed? All according to my process and plans for trading. Was it properly managed? Did I do a good job of taking the trades that I'm supposed to take? You do understand which trades that you take. That's your playbook, right? Next, what were were there valid trades according to my process, my playbook, that I missed, that I did not take? That doesn't mean just because the market traded down somewhere and then rallied 1.5 in the crude oil that you should have been long. Maybe this was not an opportunity for you to get long, okay? So that's not a valid trade that you missed to your process. But those trades where you said, hey, this is my key level on the day, this is VWAP, this is an imbalance in the footprint, and I couldn't pull the trigger, well, now we're in the realm of this. It was a valid trade for you. You didn't pull the trigger. Explore this. Where was your focus at the time? Are there clues from my journal? Why was this missed? What can I do going forward to take better conscious control of directing my focus towards what really matters for me and my trading? Key errors that you're noticing that you're making, you can add them to a list for future process goals. Doesn't necessarily, one thing with process goals is you don't need to just flip and flop from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday, like failing at the process goals and then just focusing on something different. That's not going to make you a better golfer. That's not going to make you a better piano player. That's not going to make you a better track and field star. You've got to rep and use market replay, all these things to get those reps in around specific skill development. You got to continue to work on habits for periods of time. With the students I work with, we meet once a week. We have daily interactions, but we meet once a week because skills take time to develop. It's not going to do us any good to spend an hour together every day most days. What did you do well today? This is really important. I think a lot of traders are very driven. They can be hard on themselves, that kind of thing. I think that it naturally draws that type of person. So it's important, something Dr. Steenbarger taught, to stay balanced in your review. Don't forget that you probably, hopefully, are doing some things well. Point that out, acknowledge it. It's not all about what you're doing poorly, although we do want to improve on our weaknesses. We also want to play from our strengths and continue to do more of what's working and what we're doing well. So don't forget to do that in your review. Any of those interesting observations that you just noted down in the journal, take a screenshot, do a write-up. We call this our book of charts. Document it for future reference. You start building up a book of charts on a specific thing you're beginning to notice frequently. Could develop into a new opportunity for you in the future. If you need to, again, use that market replay functionality, go through tough sequences, reread the order flow, things where you made errors, practice doing the right thing. Confirm your process goals for tomorrow. Forgive yourself for your mistakes. It's very important. A lot of traders, they carry the baggage of the mistakes made from the prior day into the next session, and that leads to more revenge trading, poor performance. Let go of it, guys. You're in as a trader, you're in a learning process consistently, continually. You're working on things. You've got to be able to acknowledge a negative, but not let that weigh you down and not attach your self-worth to that. One of my favorite tennis books talks about you're always going to make mistakes in tennis or golf, that these are high precision sports. You make a mistake. Don't be the idiot that walks around with the positive mentality that never admits mistakes. That's a mistake in of itself. All negatives are not negative, and all positives are not positive. Okay? Gauge it objectively as a benevolent coach would do. Admit the negatives, but then reframe, work on it after hours. But here's what the tennis book says. The next shot is more important than the last mistake. The next shot is more important than the last mistake. And that's true. That doesn't mean we ignore the mistakes. It means we acknowledge them, look at how to get better, and then move on and get better. And that's it, guys. Then go be a good person outside of trading. Contribute to the world.
You know, I like to add one thing is like when people pout and they get negative, they're not admitting their mistake. They're just being insecure to let the rest of the world know that I know I screwed up. You know, kids do that after they strike out, and I get mad at it. They pout. You know, I hit the bats around. You're not supposed to be happy, like you said. Be positive after maybe a mistake, but you get way negative. It's like just sometimes they just put on a show for others to say, yeah, this is important to me. If it's important to you, you know, you won't be happy, but it won't be too sad. I think that's well said. Could you just you showed a profile chart at the beginning? Would you mind re-showing that and just unless you got to run, but could you walk through the first 5 minutes of how you would have started maybe crude oil, if that's what that is? Yeah, it looks like it. Like a 5 minute preview or what
Can
you
you
would have
see
looked
this
at.
thing?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so today in crude, we know that the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days, even though yesterday was a really volatile day, as you can see, we've been in this 9-day bracket, right? We've gone nowhere. It's not an environment where we're breaking out of ranges and really potentially trending and whatnot. So I was really back and forth on long, short, scalping 10 cents here and there. I think the key line in the sand today for me was 67.60, the lower end of this range. As you can see, there's quite a bit of levels that kind of have found support from this area, and really not much has been able to trade below there. So I think this is why this spike occurred right here. We were long and short in this zone here, but then once it looked like this was really going to crack, we were certainly looking to get short, even a little bit before there as well, just based on the way it was shaping up. But then that failed, as we can see. So from that point, again, it's back into this anywhere inside this middle chunk of this 9-day bracket here. It's the potential for two-way trade is very, very high. So shorter targets, not really trying to make a point on a move, just picking up things where you can. Good timing with order flow, things like that.
When you say a point, is that 100 ticks? It's a dollar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a dollar move in crude. So one thing I like about your preparation is it's consistent but simple. You're not throwing out a lot of, scenarios or whatever. It's, hey, listen, bullish above, be careful bearish below, or vice versa, right? I mean, and it's the exact way I look at it. And you start to see things that others don't. And that's what's important. If you're consistent, you see things that others don't because you continue to look at it and look for it, So that's good stuff. I love the simplicity of how you use profile and then, roll from there. But you're still trading primarily crude oil, right, Merritt?
Yes.
Anybody got any questions before we wrap things up? This was great. I think that to underscore the simplicity of how you preview and prepare, but the importance of just doing it without overdoing it. And you're
Well,
right.
I think a lot of people don't understand how, to be honest.
Right.
I think there's people that perhaps would do more work, but I see these reviews where they write up, they're doing an end of day review every single day, but it's more of this, oh, I should have seen this. Oh, I should have done this. Oh, I caught this good trade here. Like, you're just regurgitating what happened and like the most basic type of things. That's not actually going to make you better. So that's why I really want to break it down into specific things to ask about. This trade that I took, entry, sizing, stop, management. Next trade that I took, entry, sizing, stop, management. valid trade that I missed. Let's go to the journal. Let's do this. Very specific things that people can do that's going to give them knowledge and information to develop and get better. Don't just recap your day from a generic point of view. It's not going to do anything for you.
Hey, a good question from Mark. And you know Mark, right? Colorado
Mm-hmm.
Mark?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned you're mad today and fired up. What were you mad at, and how did you get your perspective back? Or how did you get back into your zone to be productive?
Oh, well, I'm halfway kidding about the being pissed off and whatnot. I just had to kick my own traders in the butt a little bit, based on me going through and kind of seeing some of their reviews from yesterday and things like that, that meeting just finished leading into this meeting. So I haven't been trading since this point in time. So it's really not a consideration. I'm not really mad. I'm just fired up trying to get my guys motivated and doing the right things.
Now it's good to hear that everybody gets mad and gets we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how you get back and getting mad at the right things. What was the one thing that I was saying that I'm going to circle back to? And that is or what you had mentioned, they don't know how. So many people don't know what they don't know, and they over prepare. Spend too much time creating a bias. Some days you don't have a bias or shouldn't have one. Other days you should, but be flexible to change it. And but
Well, a bias isn't a bias without a place where the bias changes.
that is a good point. That's a good way to put it.
It's not a bias. Then it's just
it's a guess.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the best guess for the day. It really could be. But if you can't see, like I really think of it like Warren Buffett being a value investor, right? He'll buy into a company, take ownership stake even. But when the reason that he got into that investment changes, is no longer true.
Yes. Then why are you still in it?
He's out. That's right. It's done. So you've got to have. You can't just say I'm bearish. Oh, I'm bearish. Come on. You can do better than that.
That's why I not created, but just a better way to look at the same thing, B2B bars, transitional moments. And you don't have to trade every transitional moment, but to help you read the real time on a smaller time frame, who's got the leash, who's in control, who might make you change your mind sooner rather than later. And when does that change? When does that give up? And maybe it's not your fault for you saying the market's right now on this time frame bullish. It's the market's idea, and it changed its mind. And so it's no longer your opinion. It's the market's opinion. You're just good at reading it, and you detach yourself from the personal opinion of my favorite color is blue. It doesn't matter. It's the market's direction, and if you're consistent at trying to transition or read the transition, you'll be picking better spots. That's when they say your timing is better because you're bullish before most of the rest of the market is bullish. Before most of the rest of the shorts are ready to puke. Therein lies the definition of a winning trade. You get long before other shorts puke and buy it up ahead of you. I used to think years and years and years ago, why would people come in and buy something after me at a worse price? And it's because I got long right before shorts had to get out and therefore climb over each other to reach. That's the definition is why a profitable trade on a long side is profitable. You're getting in before others have to get out. Big difference between wanting to maybe get long and having to get the hell out of a short. A lot of emotion involved. But that really creates the transitional moments, right? The people who say, holy SHIT, I'm wrong. And if a herd of people are saying that and they're short, we're going to rally. And it's all measured within that context. But you got to know how, you got to know why. And how long do you prepare? You look at your charts and from the time, not that you start to trade, but 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, what?
The market analysis component.
Yeah, and you might have said this and I didn't hear it, but yeah.
The market analysis for me, my top-down approach to get ready for the day probably takes 15 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of people might think an hour or two. That would be way overkill, in my opinion. 15
Yeah.
minutes. 15 minutes. Most people.
It
Yeah,
used to take me a little longer as I kind of was
sure.
developing things, but once you get into the groove of your key references and understand like how it all fits together and whatnot,
Hmm.
um, and I mean 15, that includes like typing it all out and saving it as a document and sharing it with my group and things like that.
You've made it efficient as you went
Yeah.
along, but that's productive. I think 15 minutes. How many 15-minute segments we waste as humans? It takes 15 minutes to get up, make coffee, and brush your teeth for most people, and yet they won't. They'll spend either too much time or not enough to come up with a little bit of analysis and walk through it, because that's about what it takes me. I look at it a little bit before I open the room, and then I'm looking at it, preparing as I brief the room from 8 to 8:15 roughly. So I kind of overlap it, but all good stuff. If you're not recentering guys week to week or day to day, you're going to get off center, including you, right? Including me. And it's one thing to get professional and successful. It's another thing to stay successful. You want to keep yourself around guys that are doing it day in, day out. But Merritt, thanks again for coming, man. This was real helpful. We'd like you to come back from time to time if you can, but I know you're busy. Either way, great stuff.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, I'll stay in touch.
All right. See you, bud.
Also, a lot of people are thanking you in the room. So,
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
all right, Merritt Black from SMB. We'll see you guys next week or in the trading room. I'm having problems with my question box and some of these. Here we go. Let me answer some questions as I wind things down. I'm going to shut the recording. Just be careful. FOMC tomorrow and today seems to be some position squaring, meaning it's not bearish for no reason ahead of some big numbers and events. Friday's unemployment and FOMC statement tomorrow at 1 Central. Lots going to happen between this afternoon and tomorrow morning before that statement, but just stay on the transitions.